In Peru, the number of people killed in the repression of nationwide demonstrations demanding general elections and a new constitution rises to 25. Also, Russian warships on the Pacific Fleet departed to take part in the Maritime Cooperation 2022 maneuvers, the joint naval exercise with China, which will take place from December 21st in the East China Sea. An Australian Minister for Foreign Affairs, Penny Wong, will pay a visit to China on December the 20th and 21st to address bilateral relations. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. And now we begin with the news. In Peru, the number of people killed in the repression of nationwide demonstrations demanding general elections and a new constitution rises to 25. The Health Ministry, in its most recent bulletin, said that of the 25 deaths, 9 were reported in the department of Ayacucho, 6 in Apurimac, 3 in Cusco, 3 in Junin, 3 in La Libertad, and 1 in Arequipa. Peru has been experiencing a period of social protests since last December 7th, when the Congress appointed Dina Boluarte as the president of the country, after dismissing the head of state, Pedro Castillo, who is in preventive detention, accused of presumed crime of rebellion. On Sunday, 26 Peruvian farmers were released after being in police custody for 14 hours. The agricultural workers were arbitrarily detained by law enforcement who raided the Farmers Confederation's headquarters and set free without charge. The released farmers were welcomed by a crowd that stayed outside the premises of the Confederation where they were being held in demand of their freedom. Peruvian National Police claimed that in the framework of the state of emergency, slingshots, machetes, banners, and publicity alluding to the demonstrations were found inside the premises. However, the farmers denounced that the objects were planted with the purpose of justifying the harassment. They also denounced that police officers prevented their lawyers from entering the headquarters. And repression against protesters in Peru continues. In social media, they denounced that 4 citizens were murdered in the region of Ucayali. During Saturday afternoon and night, security forces launched a strong repressive operation in the town of Huipoca in the province of Padre Abad. Unofficial sources report that there are numerous wounded, in addition to 4 dead, among them a young girl, who were shot by the army firearms. And these deaths are confirmed. The total death toll will rise to 28, according to figures released by the Peruvian Ministry of Health, but recent reports cite the tally at 25. Peru's acting president, Dina Boluarte, assured on Saturday that she will remain in office and demanded Congress to anticipate the general elections. In a lengthy representation to the press, at which ministers and military chiefs also spoke, Boluarte demanded that Congress approve the executive's proposal to anticipate the general elections. The president also denied the possibility of resigning from office and assured that she will remain firm until Congress resolves to advance the elections. Meanwhile, security forces claimed that they were regaining control of the country's internal areas, following protests and repression that have left at least 22 people dead and hundreds injured this week.
Congressmen, do not look for pretexts not to advance elections. Do not abstain from voting. Vote for the good of the country.
Brazilian writer Nelida Piñón passed away on Saturday at the age of 25. Piñón was the winner of numerous literary awards and was the first woman president of the Brazilian Academy of Letters. According to a press release from the Record publishing house, Piñón died in a hospital in regret what it considers a great loss for the country's literature and announced that her body will be repatriated to Brazil to be buried in the Academy's mausoleum. Nelida Piñón, born in Rio de Janeiro in 1937, authored more than 20 books, including the novels La Casa de la Pasión, The House of the Passion, and La República de los Sueños, The Republic of Dreams, inspired by the story of her family's migration from Galicia to Brazil. For the body of her work, Piñón was awarded the Prince of Asturias Prize in 2005. And experts warned that violence in Haiti could threaten cholera vaccination. On Sunday, the Haitian government launched a campaign to vaccinate more than 10% of its population. The campaign will focus primarily on children between 1 and 5, since this is the most affected age group. The Caribbean nation has 1.17 million doses of the vaccine, and about 500,000 more are about to arrive. However, specialists warn that many countries are having cholera outbreaks, which makes medication harder to come by. Despite this authorities' initiative, experts assure that the climate of violence and insecurity in the country will make it difficult to complete due to the lack of security for the vaccination teams and the lack of mobility of the civilian population. Now we move on to other topics. In Brazil, authorities report numerous fires near the territories of indigenous communities in the state of Maranhão and Tocantins. Local leaders reported that the disaster originated in Boajora 3 territory come to about 150 people whose houses suffered fire-related damage. Fire also killed some animals in the area. According to villagers, every year illegal burning causes large fires, but those responsible are hardly ever found. They also denounce problems in the regularization of their lands, hand in hand with constant threats from invaders. Member organizations of the Campaign Against Violence in the Countryside recalled having issued a public note demanding the government of Maranhão and the federal government protect the life, health and integrity of the population. Let's take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In the United States, 2 teenagers were killed and 3 others were injured in a shooting in the city of Atlanta. Deputy Police Chief Charles Hampton Jr. said that following a dispute on social media, a group of armed individuals approached the Continental Colony Parkway apartment complex near Greenbrier Mall in southwest Atlanta. According to a preliminary police report, the students continued the dispute and exchanged gunfire, resulting in the death of one 14-year-old and one 16-year-old. The police also said that their other teenagers, aged 11 to 15, were wounded. Authorities said homicide and aggravated assault units are on the scene conducting a full investigation into the incident. In Japan, recent surveys revealed strong public rejection by citizens to the idea of raising taxes to enhance defense capabilities. In a telephone survey conducted by Kyoto Agency on December 17th and 18th, 53.6% of all those interviews said they were against the government's plans to increase defense spending by 50% over current levels. Meanwhile, 39% of those polled say they welcome the measure. At the same time, 64.9% of the Japanese reject raising taxes to achieve this goal, compared to 30% who support the idea. The government of Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is planning to increase military spending from 1.24% of the gross domestic product at present to 2% by 2027, claiming that over 1 trillion Japanese yen, or about $7.3 billion, will be needed to achieve this goal. At the invitation of member of the Political Bureau of the Chinese Communist Party Central Committee, State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi, Australian Minister for Foreign Affairs Penny Wong will pay a visit to China from December the 20th and 21st.
This year marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and Australia. During the visit, State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi will hold talks with Foreign Minister Penny Wong and together hold a new round of China-Australia diplomatic and strategic dialogue. December Penny Wong's visit will help the two sides further implement the important consensus reached by the leaders of our two countries during their meeting in Bali. Take the 50th anniversary of China-Australia diplomatic ties as an opportunity. Uphold the principle of respecting each other, pursuing mutual benefit and win-win results, and seeking common grounds while reserving differences. Enhance dialogue, expand cooperation, manage differences well, so as to bring China-Australia relations back to the right track for sustainable development.
And the Russian Defense Ministry on Monday confirmed that vessels of the Russian Pacific Fleet have been left their base for joint Russian-Chinese naval exercises. The exercises are due to be held from December 21st through 27 in the East China Sea. According to the ministry, the Russian Navy will be presented or represented by the Pacific Fleet flagship missile cruiser Varyag, one frigate, 2 corvettes, as well as marine aircrafts and helicopters. China is sending 2 destroyers, 2 patrol ships, a replenishment ship, and a submarine to the drills. The main goal of the exercise is to strengthen naval cooperation between the two countries and to maintain peace and stability in the Asia-Pacific region. The government of Greece has announced that it will pay for 1/10 of the cost of each citizen's shopping basket for a period of 6 months. During the debate on the 2023 budget, Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said the state will cover this cost as of February 2023 as part of measures to tackle the nation's 10% inflation. Mitsotakis said the money will come from the tax on refineries' profits, thanks to the increase in fuel prices. This is the second initiative approved by the current government to curb the impact of inflation, following the approval in November of a cap on the price of 51 basic products. In Belgium, European Union reached an agreement to reform the carbon market as part of the 27 nation blocs proposed climate plan. The agreement provides for a change in the emissions trading scheme and compels electricity producers as well as cement and steel industries to pay quotas for their carbon emissions. Under the agreement, the allowances that companies can pay must be cut by 62% by 2030, respect to 2005 levels, a measure that seeks to encourage a cut in emissions and stimulate the development of green technologies. The agreement also allows to tax citizens for emissions linked to heating buildings and road transport. And now we move on to other topics. In Russia, at least 1 dead and 8 wounded are reported after a projectile attack in the province of Belgorod on the Ukrainian border. According to Vyacheslav Gladkov, governor of the region, the deceased was a man from the Russian region of Tambov who was working on the construction of a workshop for a poultry farm. He also detailed that 7 of the injured people are already under medical care, while the 8th person was sent for outpatient treatment after refusing to be hospitalized. The governor also said that 14 houses and 9 vehicles in the provincial capital were damaged, as well as 2 residential blocks. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In India, the number of people who died after drinking adulterated alcohol was now risen to 81. According to local media, authorities reported 74 new deaths from tamper liquor in the last 24 hours in the Saran district. 5 more died in the Siwan district, while 2 persons died in the Begusarai district. The first fatalities were registered last Tuesday at Bihar Hush in Saran. Subsequently, more reports of poisoning appeared from at least 9 states in the country. Saran District Magistrate Rajesh Meena declared that as a result of this crime, authorities have arrested 213 people linked to adulterated liquor trade so far. On Sunday, the Tunisian Electoral Authority announced that turnout for Saturday's parliamentary elections stood at only 8.8%. Despite the low turnout, the lowest in any poll since the revolution in 2011, the president of the Electoral Authority described the process as a clean due to the lack of political financing and vote buying. Opposition groups boycotted the election, describing it as part of a coup against democracy. The main opposition alliance called on the president to bring all political forces together for consultations. The election took place almost a year and a half after Sayed deployed military vehicles to suspend parliament, following months of political deadlock. In July, President Sayed used a referendum to push through a new constitution, virtually stripping parliament of any real power. Preliminary results are expected on Monday.
Groups boycotted the election, describing it as part of a coup against democracy.
In Iraq, at least 7 federal police officers were killed on Sunday in an attack attributed to jihadists, members of the Islamic State group, against a truck that was transporting them in the north of the country. According to local authorities, the attack against the unit was launched with an explosive device and a direct burst of small weapons far near the village of Al-Shalal Matar, located on the outskirts of the city of Kirkuk. Police sources reported that in the incident, the officers managed to shoot down 1 attacker and 2 were wounded in the exchange of bullets, and reiterated that they are searching for other attackers who fled. This happens in the context of a sustained violence in this territory after the Islamic State conquered several territories of the country in 2014. In Uganda, authorities announced the end of Ebola confinement after the outbreak affected 2 of the nation's districts. Through a press release, Vice President Jessica Lupo informed that the biosanitary restrictions decreed by President Yoweri Museveni 2 months ago in Mubende and Kazanda districts will end since the cases at the virus epicenter are decreasing. The official also pointed out that from September to this day, the national health system has recorded 142 infections and 56 fatalities from the disease. In this sense, the Vice President announced that the first batch of anti-Ebola candidate vaccines arrived in the country to advance in the mitigation measures against the virus. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.